Most tutorials about RGB LEDs are very basic, so in this video I'm going to show you exactly how do they work so you're not limited to any libraries or specific microcontroller. That's especially useful if you are planning on using RGB LEDs on a standalone project. So there's two main types of RGB LEDs. There's the addressable RGB LED and there's the non-addressable RGB LED. The main difference is that the addressable ones are very easily controlled individually, so you can create any effect that you want. And the non-addressable LEDs are usually controlled by current, so it's not that easy to control individually. Usually you can choose just one color for all the LEDs at once. Another difference that you can easily see is that the addressable LEDs usually have 4 pins and the non-addressable ones usually have 6 pins. So the most common addressable LED is the WS2812B. If we go to the datasheet of the WS2812B, we can see the pin diagram. Most of the time we see one pin for VCC, one pin for ground, one pin for data input, and another pin for data output. So the special thing about the addressable LEDs are the data input and data output pins. So sending a signal with the data input, we can select any color of the RGB LED. The communication works by sending 24 bits, 8 bits for each color. So 8 bits for green, 8 bits for red, and 8 bits for blue. To control the LED individually, we can send 24 bits for the first LED and then send another 24 bits for the second LED. And we can keep sending the data to control as many LEDs that we have to control. To control the color of each LED, we need to send a signal that follows the protocol specified on the datasheet. Basically, the data signal needs to follow a timing diagram. If we take a look at the datasheet, we can see that to send a bit 0, we need to stay high for 0.4 microseconds and stay low for 0.85 microseconds. And to send a bit 1, we need to stay high for about 0.8 microseconds and stay low for about 0.45 microseconds. So actually the data signal is very fast. It is about 800 kilohertz. The data signal needs to be fast so we can actually change the color of the LED without you seeing the color change and to be able to control a lot of LEDs. The communication also have another code that is 50 microseconds at low. So the LED understands that the communication has been done and actually it can light up the color that you want. So after sending all the 24 bits for each LED, we need to wait about 50 microseconds. Also, there's another very important thing that we need to keep in mind is that actually the LED works on 5 volts, not 3.3. So technically we need to use 5 volts for the data signal, but most microcontrollers uses 3.3. Most of the time that's fine, but sometimes we can see a little bit of flickering and a little glitches on the LED color. So there's a very clever idea that we can use to make sure that the LED is going to light up the way we want. It is simply to put a diode in series with the 5 volts of the first LED, so the communication will be more stable and get around that problem. And that's not a problem for the other LEDs because the first LED is going to regulate the 5 volts of the data input for the next LED. So that's a very clever idea that we can use to get around that problem. To control the LED, we're gonna need to use a microcontroller. In my case, I'll be using an ESP32 with the ESP-IDF framework. And also to code ESP, I will be using a VS Code extension called PlatformIO. To install the PlatformIO extension, we go to the VS Code extension tab and type PlatformIO and go to install. In my case, I already have installed, so there's no install button showing. After that, you're probably gonna need to restart your VS Code. Then a new button of the PlatformIO will show up on the left side of your VS Code. You can go there and go to PIO Home Open to open the main menu of PlatformIO. To create a new project, you can go to the Quick Access menu and go to New Project. You need to type a name for your project with no spaces. Select the board that you're going to be using and the framework. In my case, I'll be using the ESP-IDF. And after that, you can go to finish. After waiting for the files to load, you need to click on yes, then the project is created. After that, you can click on the check mark to see if the code compiles as intended. The first time that you do that, it will probably take some time. And if everything is right, a success message will show up. Now we can start working on the LED code. The first thing we're gonna need to do is to create our driver files. So we are going to create smartled.c and smartled.h. To control the LED, we need to be able to create a signal that can get up to the frequency of 800 kHz. So to do that, we are going to use the RMT peripheral of the ESP32. It is also possible to do that using other peripherals, but here we are going to use the RMT. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to import the RMT library to our smartled.c. So here we are defining the resolution that we need to have to control the signal, the number of LEDs that we are controlling, the number of bits per LED, and the number of total bits that we need to send for all the LEDs. After that, we are creating our RMT configuration, and here we need to choose the GPIO pin we are going to use to control the LED. In my case, I'm using the GPIO number 4. But you can choose whatever you want. After that, we are creating a function called smartled_bit. This function is responsible to translate a bit, either 1 or 0, into the timing of the signal that the LED can understand. The timing is based on the multiple of the resolution that was set up before. If we want to send a bit 1, we are going to stay 7 resolutions on high, then 6 resolutions on low. Considering that the resolution is set by 10 megahertz, so the period is 0.1 microseconds, we are going to stay about 0.7 microseconds on high and 0.6 microseconds on low. It's not the same timing as the datasheet, but it's close enough. And also the same thing for the bit 0. We're going to stay about 0.3 microseconds on high, then 0.9 microseconds on low. Now we are creating a function called smartled encode pixel. This function is responsible to translate the 8 bits of each color into an array that holds all the bits that needs to be sent to the LED. After that, we are creating a function called smartled encode all pixels. This function is basically calling smartled encode pixels for all the LEDs that we have. So it is encoding all the colors for all the LEDs at once. We also need to create a function to start the RMT peripheral. So we are creating a function called smartled_init. This is basically initializing the RMT peripheral using the configuration that we set it up before. Now we need a function to control each LED individually. So we are creating a smartled set pixel function. So to finally send all the bits to control the color, we need to call smartled refresh. This function takes all the bits that are going to be sent to the LED. Then by calling RMT transmit, we finally send the signal to the LED. After calling smartled refresh, the LED should light up. To easily control all the LEDs at once, we can create a function called smartled set all colors. So this function calls smartled set pixels for all the LEDs with the same color. And to show the effects that we can create with this driver, we can create a smartled rainbow to show a rainbow effect. So to finish everything up, we just need to declare all the functions on the header file. After that, we can go to the main file and include the smartled.h. We also need to call smartled_init to initialize the RMT peripheral. After that, we can call smartled set all colors to any color that you like. In my case, I'm choosing white, so we can see the LED lighting up. So after everything, we are just going to connect the ESP to the USB cable and flash the code. We also need to make sure that the LEDs are connected to the ESP32. It is basically 3 pins, one for VCC, another one for ground, and the data output pin that you set it up before on the RMT configuration. And now the LEDs should light up as white. To test the rainbow effect, we just need to create a variable for each color, RG and B. We also need to call smartled rainbow on a loop. Inside the while loop, we can make a for to apply the color for all the LEDs. We also need to create a position variable so the rainbow effect can calculate the next color based on the actual color that it is showing right now. This rainbow effect changes the color of all the LEDs at the same time. But if you want to make a moving rainbow effect, you can create a variable for each LED and change the position before applying the color. The changing position between each LED changes the gradient of the rainbow effect. After applying all the colors for all the LEDs, the changing position actually changes the speed of the rainbow effect. And basically that's everything that you need to know about addressable RGB LEDs, and if you like, please consider subscribing to my channel.